Hello ladies, and welcome back to Thankful Thriftiness. For those of you who are new to this channel, my name is Marin. I am a wife, a homemaker, and a very soon-to-be mama who lives in the beautiful state of Michigan. It is the first legitimate fall day. It is only getting up to 60 and I'm so excited. It feels so good to be like wrapped up in a cozy sweatshirt, sweatpants. I got my blanket here. I don't know, being pregnant when it's hot is not fun. I am currently over halfway through my third trimester with our first baby. I am feeling very much ready to have her here in my arms, being able to cuddle her as it gets colder, and it's just getting more uncomfortable, which is totally normal. I'm not complaining because I am very thankful that she's very healthy and active, but it is a challenge. As I have gone through this pregnancy, I've found it very helpful to watch videos on how other moms are preparing their bodies, minds, and homes for welcoming their new little baby. So I thought I might as well add to that. Not that I have any foolproof system down or anything, but I just figured I'd share some of the ways I'm preparing for birth. Hopefully it's helpful to at least one person watching today. To preface this, our goal is to have a natural and unmedicated birth. We totally understand that sometimes plans change, and the goal at the end is to have a healthy baby and a healthy mama. So if that has to change, that's totally fine, but I'm really working to prepare my mind, my body for natural birth, because according to all the moms I've talked to, it's not easy. I'll start by sharing how I'm preparing mentally to have a baby. It's been very, very helpful for me to watch home birth videos to see how other moms cope with labor and the pain and the pressure and all that comes with it, and also just to see the joy at the end after all of their hard work. My mom didn't let my sisters and I watch any scenes of people having babies for years in movies, and now I understand why. Those scenes are very dramatic, loud, when in reality, that's not how every birth goes. And so seeing videos of actually what happens has been so helpful just to get my mind in a place of realistic expectations, as far as I know. I have also compiled a playlist that I'll be listening to while we're having our baby, especially in the earlier stages of labor. I have tried to find some birth affirmations to listen to because a lot of people have mentioned how helpful that was to them. I looked at some by another YouTuber I really enjoy. I can't remember her name, but I'm going to link some of her resources down below for labor and delivery prep, which is really helpful. But I don't really appreciate the labor affirmations as much because as a Christian, a lot of the stuff you can get into is a little bit not exactly what I believe. Let's just leave it at that. A lot of it can be a little bit new agey, and I would prefer to focus my mind on scripture and something that's more Christian based. They all have really good advice on how to approach birth, but I also know that whenever I try to listen to them and relax, my mind keeps focusing on that the perspective is all wrong. It all comes from the wrong worldview. I also tried some Christian ones that I found on Spotify, and I struggled with those because their theology was a little bit off in some ways. I just didn't quite agree with a lot of it, and I am not completely judgmental and unable to ever listen to other people's opinions or anything like that. But literally, I need, during labor, from what I hear from other people, to be able to focus and try to relax my brain and relax my body to let it do its thing. And if I'm sitting there thinking about, well, I don't think that's correct, is that correct? It's just not gonna work. So I've tried that route and it's not happening for me. However, you might find it's very helpful, and hopefully your brain can easily sort through that if it's something you don't exactly agree with. But for me, I am instead compiling a whole playlist. Right now it's like 4 hours long, and I'm adding more to it. I'll link it below, of worship songs, like calming worship songs that will help me focus more, hopefully, on the Lord and how amazing He is, and focus on the fact that I can trust him, that he's made my body to do what it was created to do, which is create and bring forth more little humans, which is really amazing if you think about it. You could even listen to an audio Bible read in like a calming voice. And I want to also compile a list of scriptures maybe my husband could read to me if I am getting bored with what I'm listening to. But right now I've been struggling a lot with sleeping, which is very normal in your third trimester. I think it's God preparing your body to be waking up with a little baby every night to feed it. And listening to this playlist is really helping me fall back asleep very quickly, which is perfect because if I can fall asleep to it, then I know it will be relaxing to my mind as I am in labor. One thing I've tried to avoid, and other people have helped me try to avoid, which I'm very thankful for, is hearing traumatic birth stories right now. A lot of moms have been so sweet and have told me, I'm not gonna tell you my story until after you have your baby, because you just don't need that stuck in your head. And I really appreciate that, because although I don't want to have unrealistic expectations and I don't expect everything to go perfectly, getting my mind fixated on those traumatic stories will not do either of us any good in the long run and could cause me to tense up, hence not letting my body do what it was created to do. Griffin and I have chosen to go somewhat of the route of the Bradley method, and one of the main reasons is that it focuses on relaxing your mind and body to let your uterus do the work it needs to do, and the rest of your body, honestly, to have your baby, and almost like getting out of the way to let that happen. So anything I can do to better focus my mind on relaxation and rest is very helpful. And hearing scary stories, which would make me tense up and make contractions hurt even more, is not something I want to do. Preparing myself mentally ties very much in with preparing my body physically. There are so many different ways you can do this and so many different resources out there. These are just the things I've settled on that make the most sense to me, and I found that I can actually do. Some I am doing right now, some I will be doing in the very near future. The number one thing I've been doing to prepare my body is preparing my pelvis for delivery. I worked for a chiropractor for a while, so I've heard a lot of stories about what happens when you don't have a well-aligned pelvis and you aren't strong in that whole pelvic region. And I don't want to deal with any of those issues because they do not sound fun. I have been seeing a chiropractor for a couple of months now, and I'm going to try to see him on a weekly basis up until I have our baby girl. And at home, I have been focusing on doing some stretching, more specifically pelvic rocks and strengthening. I've also been doing some squatting when I can. I am very weak from months of not feeling good, so it's not like squats where you're standing up and going back into a squat. It's more holding a squat position. I would really love to push my baby out in a squat position. Just from I hear it's really good. We'll see. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm definitely practicing strengthening that, and it's a really good stretch, and it helps me stay more limber and flexible as it gets increasingly harder to move around. So many resources I've looked at have said if you only do one exercise to prepare for labor and delivery, do pelvic rocks. And this really strengthens your whole pelvic region and helps align things, and it feels so good. It has helped so much whenever I feel sore to just sit down, or, well, I guess you're on your hands and knees, I don't know what you'd call that, and crank out 20 of them in a few minutes, and I feel so much better, and it relieves a lot of back pain. I also have been trying to strengthen my PC muscles. If you are unfamiliar with how to do that, look it up, because I'm not an expert and I couldn't tell you exactly how to do it in a coherent way. Also, don't do any of these things unless like your midwife or doctor recommends them to you. This is literally just me sharing what I'm doing, and I'm not an expert by any means. So please don't just take my word for it, look into it for yourself. Those 3 exercises are recommended in the Bradley method. There are a couple of others that I haven't really had the strength to do as much. I think one involves moving your legs outward and applying counter pressure with your hands. You can look that up if that's the route you're choosing to go on. But at least with these 3, I'm pretty satisfied, and I think even if it's all that I can do, I think it will definitely have an impact on how the birth goes. Perineal massages are another very useful thing I've been working on. Is that how you pronounce it? Sorry, correct me in the comments if that's not how you pronounce it. It's basically increasing circulation in the area around your lady parts that's going to stretch and let your baby out. I know I'm being super vague about terms and everything. I do know the anatomical terms for different parts of my body, but as this is a very family-friendly channel, I'm just going to keep it more vague, and you can look it up yourself later, and I'll link as many resources down below as I can for how to do these things and more in-depth explanations made by actual experts. The final thing I'm doing to prepare my body physically, more exercise-wise, is by trying to get my baby in the optimal position for birth. And the way I'm doing this is spending a lot of time in more forward-leaning positions so that she wants to curve her back to the curve of my belly versus leaning back, which would cause her to want to curve her back to the curve of my back. I'll link some resources below on how to do that. I have also just found that it's helpful because I've been struggling a lot with her pressing on whatever arteries are in your tummy, that the reason it's not safe for you to be laying on your back when you're heavily pregnant or more heavily pregnant. I've struggled with dizziness, lightheadedness, pretty much almost passing out at one point. So it's just very helpful in general to keep her leaning forward in my tummy versus leaning back in my tummy. Spinning Babies has a lot of helpful insights and resources in how to get your baby in the optimal position. The last way I've been physically preparing my body is by focusing on what I put into myself. I still struggle a lot with nausea, so there's a lot of things I've been eating or not eating that I'm not exactly happy about, but when I can, I'm focusing on drinking as much water as I can to stay hydrated. At least a gallon a day is what my midwife is having me do. I'm also focusing on eating dates, which is supposed to help with my cervix in some way. I don't know exactly what way, but I think it has to do with the circulation in my cervix to help it open up better when it's time to have my baby. I eat about 4 dates a day, and generally I put peanut butter on them because, y'all, that is like the best snack in my opinion. I try to get as much protein in as I can, which has been tough because a lot of things like eggs and meat, my stomach doesn't really like to keep down. So I focus on drinking a lot of milk, and you know, that gets the baby a lot of calcium and protein. So just praying that that really helps with her development in that way. And I know protein is very good for you and your baby. I've also been more intentionally eating oats. I like this in the form of overnight oats that you just pop in the fridge. I don't know if eating oats now can help with lactation later on, but at least it gets me in the habit of eating a lot of oats, and they're just very good for you overall. So I have been incorporating as many oats into my diet as I can. Something I started and then my midwife told me to stop and start at 37 weeks is drinking raspberry leaf tea. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's very helpful in preparing your cervix to have a baby. However, the reason she had me stop was it does cause little contractions of the muscles in your uterus, and I was having a ton of Braxton Hicks, like I think too much. And my midwife said, yeah, cut back, don't drink any raspberry leaf tea until, red raspberry leaf tea, sorry, it's more specific than that, until you are at 37 weeks. That may not be the recommendation to everyone, but please consult your midwife before drinking it. I just heard on YouTube other moms recommending it, and I thought, oh, okay, third trimester, I should start drinking it, right? That's not necessarily the case. So at 37 weeks, I'm gonna start on a cup a day and work my way up to more than that. But we'll see, I don't know how much it does, but I hear it is highly recommended by a lot of people. Evening Primrose Oil is something I need to start actually very soon, either inserting or taking orally. I don't know exactly how I will choose to do that, but it's very helpful in preparing your body for opening up to have a baby. So now that I've shared how I'm preparing myself to have a baby, here are a few ways I'm preparing my home to receive our newest little member. We are currently working on painting the nursery, and I plan to do a nursery reveal as soon as that is completed, and I'm so excited. It's turning out so well. My mom is amazing at colors, and so she helped me pick out all the colors, and I really can't wait. I am so geeked about it. As I can, I'm putting away little freezer meals. It's not like I thought it would be where I'd have an afternoon and make, I don't know, like 20 freezer meals. I just don't have the energy for that. As I can, I'm putting things away in my freezer just little bits at a time. And so far I have a decent little stockpile. I just don't want to have to think about cooking for a while after having a baby. And I know that there are some people who have said they will bring meals too, which will be a huge blessing. But it's also my responsibility to make sure my family's fed, so I wanted to put away as much as I could. I switched from making bread every other week to making it every week just to stockpile some. And my plan is to let my sourdough starter die because my mom also has the same sourdough starter. And once I'm ready to get back into baking, she said she would be happy to share some of hers with me. But I think I need to take a break from that for a decent bit. Nesting is something I do in spurts as I have energy. And right now my house is a complete disaster because we still haven't painted the nursery. So it's kind of hard to really nest when everything's like all over the place. But I do definitely have the desire to have everything clean and in its place. But I kind of have to take care not to go too crazy or else I will wear myself out very quickly. A little bonus tip for postpartum prep that my mom recommended to me, and my mom's had 5 babies, so I trust her recommendations very much, is watching videos on nursing and how to help the baby latch. She said that she did that with having my sisters and I don't think she did it before having my brother, and she kind of regretted it because it made things a little bit more difficult later on. But I have found them very helpful, and so I will continue to watch those up until I have my baby to hopefully give us the best chance we can at breastfeeding, which is the goal. Thank you all so much for watching, and please let me know in the comments, how have you prepared to have your babies? What did you find was the most effective? I appreciate the advice, and again, everything mentioned in this video is something that I'm just telling you I have done. Check with your midwife or doctor before starting anything physically strenuous and eating different things to help prepare your body. I look forward to sharing with you the nursery reveal, and hopefully sooner than later, our little baby girl. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye!